such a big void in the corner over there.
Needs a way president to get back, so I think we would have some parking blocks there. I think we're just gonna contact Toits and see if they can just come set two of those big
Sure.
retaining wall.
Calling the village council meeting over. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any additions, deletions, changes to the proposed agenda for this evening? Being none. Roll call.
President Schneider,
Present.
President Pro Tem Dyke, Councilmember Feldman, Councilmember Glasser,
Present.
Councilmember Kuligowski,
Present.
Councilmember Powell,
Present.
Councilmember Steffler. Present.
So it's time for communications. No written communications at the present time. We, as I think, probably favor to council and as well as to one of the candidates that's running for township office. I'm going to invite Bonnie to step up to the podium. I believe she's a candidate for township clerk.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Kraus. I live at 4705 Glover Road here in Almont, and I am a candidate for township clerk. And thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Before I begin, let me thank each and every one of you for your service and your willingness to be a public servant. Sometimes it's a thankless job, and thank you for making the hard decisions. I'm here to tell you a little something about me as I seek election in office, and I will tell you I'm a bit nervous, so I'm going to have to read this. Please bear. I urge everyone to get out and vote in the August primary, as this is what sets our local positions in the township, even if you don't want to vote for the presidential candidates in this primary election. I grew up in Almont and have lived here most of my life. I have been involved in municipal government and other communities since 2003 with experience in budgeting, ordinances, water, sewer, and stormwater utilities, township infrastructure improvements, and elections, to name just a few. Once I learned the importance of a master plan and zoning ordinance for the township, I volunteered for the Almont Township Planning Commission and became the commission's zoning board of appeals liaison. I know what it is to say no when everyone else is saying yes. Looking at myself in the mirror the next morning and being satisfied that I did my best and what is right is my motivation. I understand the importance of our two boards working together as they affect our community with the decisions made by them both. You are in the process of hiring a new police chief, and as a township resident, my household has been protected by the excellent police force in Almont. Partnering with the village for police protection was the right move, in my opinion. I would like to see that partnership continue in the future. The township and village enjoy the excellent protection of our fire department. They have been an outstanding in our community for a long time. Thank you to our volunteers for their service to our community. In addition to fire protection, the village residents also help pay for assessing and your township tax bill. And the township just hired a new firm to take that on. These decisions affect the village, residents, as well as the township, and I will keep that in mind when I'm making decisions that affect us both if elected. I am delighted to see the renewal of our downtown area with new businesses moving into vacant buildings. My husband and I enjoy frequenting the restaurants, and we both have received excellent care from the doctors of physical therapy. I would like the township to continue to support the village to keep it our community center. Supporting businesses means buying local in the village and the township, but it also means supporting it in the decisions that are made at the board table. I believe that I am the right candidate for the job. I bring 20 years of experience and would appreciate your vote on August 6th to bring the skill set, professionalism, and enthusiasm home to my community. I hope you received my flyer in the mail. If not, please contact me. Thank you to those that did reach out to me with questions and support. You can reach me at krausforclerk@yahoo.com, KRAUSSFORCLERK@yahoo.com, or 810-798-8216. 798, 8 times 2 is 60. Thank you very much.
Bonnie, how long were you on planning commission, township planning commission?
About 4 years.
And also on zoning board of
It
appeals?
was a shared, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just interested in your
Any other questions?
length of experience. Anybody else? Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate
Thank
a
you.
nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Any other candidates? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda, our regular meeting minutes from our July 2 council meeting. I have no edits. Anybody in council? Questions, comments, corrections, edits with regard to minutes for our July 2 meeting? Being none. General fund. Major streets, local streets, Parks and Recreation Fund. Downtown Development Authority Fund, Sewer Fund, Water Fund, Equipment Fund, Payroll Register Report, DPW Monthly Report, Wastewater Treatment Monthly Report.
I had a question on that one.
Yes,
So towards the bottom, Clinton mentions that Waste Management is refusing to empty the dumpster, even though they've been doing it for 30 plus years. I'm just curious if anyone else has information what's going on there. How is our waste
Sure.
being handled?
Kirbyson.
I'm happy to address that. I have talked to Waste Management about this issue. I believe they have a new driver who is not familiar with what the product is that he's picking up. So he initially complained. Then the next week, he didn't pick it up. So we got in contact with them, or actually they got in contact with us. We renewed the discussion about he is actually picking up, and that there is no reason for him to be afraid of it, as an example. And so they actually went a couple of weeks, they didn't pick it up, and then they picked it up the following week, and they didn't pick it up. And then now we're back on track, I believe. We can actually go weeks and weeks with them not picking it up, because the device that they provide us to keep it in would take about 3 weeks to fill up. But, we don't want to leave it ferment for that kind of time. So I think we have it squared away. I have talked to management. Again, we have had this contract, and they pick up the exact same thing for the last, I believe, 38 years. So should be fine.
I just wanted to make sure we had some resolution on that. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Wastewater Treatment Plant Monthly Report. Police Report. Ordinance Enforcement Officer Report. Building Permit Report, also known as Construction Code Authority. Financial Position Report. And Clerk Treasurer's Report, which I read thoroughly, Kim, and thanks, it's good. All the kinds of exciting things, it sounds like, yeah. How are, just interested, it tells us something about the community and our economy. So how is the tax foreclosure list looking this year for the county?
It was a lot less than usual, and there was only one located in the village.
Oh, so somebody could misconstrue that as the economy is doing well. Maybe, right? Some people think so, some people don't. Okay, thank you. Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Probably should state what it is, just for the record. It's a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Just for the record. Thanks. Okay. Any, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections approved by, unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. We did receive an email from Councilmember Feldman. He would be unable to attend this evening. Now is the time for public comment as to any item that is on our regular agenda for this evening. Is there any public comment as to a regular agenda item? Being none. Moving on to a regular agenda item, Fleisch and Vander, whatever, engineering contract approval. I think this was on our last agenda, and there was a request for more detailed breakdown as to price and services as to Fleisch's proposed contract. And I believe we've been provided that. And did you wish to make any presentation, Manager Kuberson, as to Fleisch?
No, other than if this description is acceptable to the council, we'll let them know the first step in moving this project forward is topo. They have to come and measure and map out the existing conditions, and then they begin the design work after that. So the sooner we can get that rolling, the faster the design can be put in place, and then we can move towards bidding and all that sort of stuff.
That was my understanding as well. The sooner the better. However, you have to satisfy the concerns. Tim, I think you raised this issue last time. Do you have any take on the presentation by Fleisch?
It clarified a lot of what was going on. That the information we had last meeting wasn't enough for me to make a decision on. But yeah, this kind of scopes it out bullet point by bullet point of what they're doing, and they gave us some pretty good detail on it. So yeah, I was happy with the upgrade.
Anybody else on council with regard to the Fleisch breakdown as to price, its price for design engineering, bidding services, and construction administration? Design engineering and construction administration being the most expensive, for a total of $698,000.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Fleisch and Brandenburg proposal for engineering, design engineering, and construction administration fees in the amount not to exceed $698,000 for the engineering of the West St. Clair project, reconstruction project.
I'll support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Kugelgowski, to approve F&V's engineering contract. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. That actually, unusually, finishes up our regular agenda for this evening. So we now move into public comment time for non-agenda items. Let me indicate for council's information, I think you've been provided with this information to some extent by Manager Kuberson, that the selection committee for police chief met this past Friday for 8 hours. Long time. We started at 8 a.m. and finished, I think, after 5. We had 3 interviews. I'm in 4. Yes, I can't count anymore. That's what happens to get older. So 4 interviews, very thorough. Usually, most of them 2 hours apiece, and very thorough questioning and scouring of resumes, curriculum vitae, and then personal interacting with the candidates. And a selection was made unanimously. And I was especially appreciative of the selection committee, which served by President Pro Tem Dyke, Councilmember Mindy Steffler, myself. I was lucky enough to sit on it, and County Prosecutor John Miller, who was excellent, and Jeremy Howe, who is the police chief for the city of Lapeer. Both of them made very dramatic contributions to that selection. They were excellent, asked excellent questions, had a lot of insight, and of course they are law enforcement people, so that's why we wanted them. And of course, Manager Cooperson was there as well, and contributed a great deal. And I think that the selecting went through a very positive and vibrant and vital examination of all of the candidates, and each one was given a full opportunity to present him or herself, and the selection was made. So stating all of that, I think Manager Cooperson would like to make an introduction.
Well, you've stolen most of my
sorry.
items on my update.
Sorry.
I just wanted you to know that I was hoping to have his contract on tonight's agenda, but I prepared it, sent it off to our labor attorney, and he has not finished reviewing it. He won't be done with it until Thursday. So once we have a contract in hand, we will make the formal offer to the candidate. The informal offer has been accepted, and he would, of course, have to pass a drug test and a background test and a social media review, and then sign the contract, and he would be our chief going forward. I'm going to request that we have a special meeting on September 30th to review that contract, and then potentially,
What, it'll be July 30th?
what did I say?
September.
July 30th, this month.
Getting
And,
old there.
what did I say, September?
Yes, you
I don't know why
did.
that date is stuck in my head, but July 30th to meet, review the results of those exams, and then you'll have the contract to review. And if it's acceptable to our candidate, it would be in front of you for approval. And with that, I'd like to introduce our unanimously selected candidate, Daniel Willis. And I asked him if he'd make a brief comment about his experience and past, and we'll go from there.
Good evening,
It'll be
Dan.
brief.
Good evening,
First
Dan.
and foremost, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for selecting me. It really does mean a lot to me. I started my law enforcement career over 30 years ago in the village of New Haven, city of Richmond, in the last 30 years at the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. I was in the administrative branch. I was either the operations lieutenant or the administrative lieutenant for 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was a sergeant for another 15.5 years. So in management, about 22.5 years at the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. It's as short and sweet as I can make it for you guys. Just excited about this, waiting to start.
And what you indicated during our selection committee meeting is you believe you have the experience to take on this
Absolutely,
position as
without
chief.
question.
And the selection committee agreed with you as the best candidate. Council, anybody want to ask Ben any questions? Or
I will hang out afterwards too, if anybody wants to talk.
I guess
Like to thank the thoroughness of the committees. I think you guys did a great job assembling a good team and taking a methodical approach and not just an emotional one. So, well
Appreciate
done.
all the time that I have served here, and we've chosen multiple police chiefs, we've never had as a selection committee with this kind of expertise, which was really quite invigorating. It was really quite good, and we feel we made a very good choice. And you might agree with that, Dan. So, so yeah, thank you for coming. Appreciate it, and we'll look forward to receiving your contract and going forward.
Perfect. I
Presume
look
you'll
forward
pass
to working.
all the tests and no heroin in your test. Or anything like that.
I'll be good to go.
Yeah, I won't be here for long, but I happen to have this tend to be very facetious, so sorry.
And
Thanks for coming.
if I
Dan.
might make one comment, though, one thing that I've seen the village really starting to foster is a active communication. So we love to hear from you. You know, if there's problems, and, you'll hear from us as well. So I'd like to maintain that relationship. We're working actively with the DDA. In the past, there was some little bit of headbutting stuff, but we worked through a lot of problems. And as long as we can keep those communication avenues open, I think it'll be great for everyone in both the village and the township as well. So
Absolutely.
On that line, that's very, very good, Ed. Given the opportunity when a door opens, you can't seem to help but walk through it. I think you indicated during the course of the interviews, one, that you would, when you were not too occupied with administrative duties, be out on the road.
That is correct.
Would actually help patrol the village, and we certainly can use that. It's usually in 3-man shifts and covering village and township, and a lot of people think in the community that the village hasn't been quite
Look forward
adequately
to
covered.
surprising the guys on the Midnight's crew too.
Right, yes, absolutely. A lot of attention paid to township. Some in the community feel that the village is being somewhat ignored. And two, I think you indicated to our selection committee that you also intended to meet with business owners and members in the community, be out there in the street, introduce yourself, and actually be personal, make personal communications.
That is correct.
So the whole line of communication was something that Dan actually played right into and volunteered during our interview. So right in line with that. So thanks, and thank you, Dan. Okay, very good. Anybody else want to say anything?
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Okay, so Manager Kerberson, there is an issue pending in the village, which is attracting a certain amount of attention. And so could you tell council and our community what you know about Officer Amanda Szymanski's situation?
Sure. That is something that came to my attention shortly after becoming the full-time village manager. So I've spoken to in the same day, I spoke to the Macomb County prosecutor, the Lapeer County prosecutor, the department that's charging based on the claims that were put in the Macomb County prosecutor's warrant. We had to, of course, wait until the warrant was officially issued after those calls so that we could follow procedure. So the day after the warrant was officially entered into the computer, the next morning we wrote a memo and contacted the union and Officer Szymanski and met with her and her union reps. At that meeting, we suspended her with pay as required in the union contract for her. We'll be following up with the case after the court has a hearing this week, I believe. And then we will decide if we need to conduct our own investigation or if the investigation ongoing with the Macomb County prosecutor that we would have access to, if we'll have access to it, will be adequate information for us. So at this point, we're waiting for the next step in the case that has been filed in Lapeer County, because it has to be filed where the incident occurred. And then we'll move forward with the investigation related to the act once we know the status of that hearing this week. I believe it's this week.
Being experienced with the legal system. So on Friday, July 19, there is now scheduled what is called a probable cause hearing. Used to be called a preliminary exam, just changed terminology. And the purpose of that hearing is to determine at a preliminary level in the district court whether a crime has been committed and there's probable cause, which is why they call it probable cause hearing, to believe that the defendant committed that crime. So that's the purpose of that hearing. I just want to advise council community that it is very common for those hearings to be adjourned, sometimes multiple times. Exchanges between prosecutor's office and defense counsel. So I certainly won't be terribly surprised if it gets scheduled to another date, but it may go forward this Friday. We'll see. And I guess I could speculate that given the notoriety of this particular situation and the defendant, that prosecutor may be very resistant towards adjourning. We'll see. Yeah, it is quite common for these probable cause hearings to be adjourned, but this situation, maybe not. Maybe we'll go forward. So it's scheduled for this Friday, and then we should certainly be able to tell. And so the officer is charged with what's called a high misdemeanor. Typically, misdemeanors are 90 days. Some are 1 year. High misdemeanor is 2 years potentially in jail. Normally, they're not sent to prison, Jackson or wherever. They're just sent to the county jail for that time, if there's jail time given. So I think normally a probable cause hearing, if the district court judge, which will be Judge Laura Barnard, finds that there is a probable cause, it's referred up to circuit court. That's the norm. Because it's a high misdemeanor, I'm not sure whether it's going up to circuit court or not, which would go in front of Judge Mike Nolan. And maybe it'll stay down in district court with Judge Barnard. So that's the scenario as much as I can read the situation. But obviously, I think we're all concerned. This is unfortunate. Professionally, I've had significant contact with Officer Szymanski. I'm a little bit heartbroken, I would put it, from the standpoint that I've seen her in action. Terrific officer. And I think as the newspapers have said 500 times, they're writing about this story and probably social media. She received Mothers Against Drunk Driving Award for the year 2017. I believe that she was, a paper said Ferndale. I thought she was Warren. She was their chief OWI, drunk driving officer. And she was really good at her job. And then I've seen what she did in a particular case that I happened to get involved in a little bit from a criminal standpoint and from a civil standpoint. So I thought very highly of her as a person, as an officer, and none of us are perfect.
Mr. President, the last item I wanted to include was I appreciated the union president going on Channel 2 and explaining that if any part of this charge is she's found to have guilt or complacent, whatever you would call it, she loses her license to practice as a police officer. So that would, of course, direct our position at that point. But I just wanted you to know that that is very clearly stated in advance and not even by us. So,
No, yeah, appreciate, yeah.
So
And
has
just want
there,
to know that as well.
has there been any, I guess, impact study as far as manpower for our needs while we're waiting for the process to work itself out? Are we bringing in a temporary officer, or are we just utilizing the staff that we have and covering the overlap, or is there any plan for that?
yeah, the acting chief had a plan in place and has put a plan in place before he left this week on vacation to cover the shifts. So there is the normal 24/7 staffing that we have. We'll be utilizing our part-time officers and our full-time officers. There may be some overtime needed, but he is taking care of that.
All right. Any other commentary from council regarding that issue? Okay. Anything else that you wish to bring to council?
Steve,
Manager? I'm sorry.
Public comment for
wait.
non-agenda items we did not cover.
Well, I apologize for that. I got caught up in the moment. Do we have public comment other than commentary that's been going on right now as to a non-agenda item? Is there any public comment this evening? All right. Being none. Okay.
So the last item, you said, did I have anything left? The only other thing I was going to let you know is that we replaced the video recorder at, it's actually housed in the wastewater treatment plant, on our camera system that records all our parks. The old one just basically fell apart on about last Friday, and we had the company ride in Monday, and they brought a new unit, put it in place, and we're 100% of back up and running. And I think that is everything.
Kim, anything to bring to council?
Just wanted to let everybody know that I will be out of the office next week. That's it.
Wayne?
Not this time.
Tim?
Yeah, Pete addressed this a couple of weeks ago, but I've seen a real influx of it since we discussed it. Non-car motor vehicles on the roads, i.e. golf carts, that sort of thing. In my neighborhood, it's just fluctuated, gone crazy. I mean, they're driving up to go to the restaurants, they're driving, I mean, there's 10 to 12-year-olds driving around the block without protective headwear, without parents in the vehicle. I think it's something that we seriously, if the township has something that we can apply, great, but I think the village really needs to come up with a plan to
address it.
Or
address the issue.
I believe it's already against village ordinance, but we probably need to.
There is an ordinance. I do know that because the announcement came out on the website of
Is it village or is it?
village.
There's two different.
Okay.
Depends on where you live, township or village, which you fall under.
Okay, then,
I guess is a
We need
matter.
to, clarify what it is, get it out to the community so
Yeah,
that people
because-
know. People
because,
probably don't.
right,
Mhm.
because to tell you the truth, I witnessed I'm gonna say they were no older than 12 by themselves, driving down Bristol, like this with their phone in their hand, driving the vehicle the wrong way. So
It's concerning.
it's not safe. So.
And you're saying we have a village ordinance?
I believe so.
I've seen it shared in the springtime on the social media page.
Well, if we can review it and see if
Yeah.
I guess if there's feedback from the public that if changes are wanted, I mean, if this is a popular thing or if this is a direction we want to go, we need to hear that too. So, but there needs to be good rules around it. So,
well, if it's the direction we want to go, then we need to at least implement what state law says, which is you have to be 16 and a licensed operator to
Oh, agreed.
drive it.
Yeah.
And
no, it definitely all those rules surrounding it, but we need to know. So,
Yeah. What our starting point is.
And the only other thing I want to bring up is I've been on council a while, and the selection committee for the way the selection committee worked for the chief selection was the most diligent I've seen in my time. So I wanted to thank all the members of that board for what they did, that committee for what they did.
Just a quick park update. Music in the Park kicked off last week. Very well attended. It was really nice to see so many people out in the community enjoying music in the park. Continues this week, and I believe it's an orchestra swing band. So join us Thursday evenings. It's very nice at the park.
It's your banners up there earlier as well. So
Mindy, was there, at the last meeting, I believe we tabled revising our policy?
We have not had a park board meeting yet.
Sorry.
That will be
Okay.
at the end of this
Okay,
month.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry. Ed?
So the only question I had is actually for you, Mindy, concerning the park. Since the restrooms have become publicly available again, has there been any reported issues or problems or?
There just some, I think, perceptions about when they should be open and when not. And, that was something that'll probably just continue to evolve over time. DPW is sort of assessing it. If it's a really rainy day, they may not open them because there's no one using the park. Or if they're really busy in a particular morning, they might not open it exactly at 7 a.m. It might be a little bit later in the day. But as far as issues in terms of vandalism or anything like that, it's been relatively quiet. And it hasn't been well advertised that they're open during the day. But Brian did say that they'll prop the doors open if it's nice out, so people can start seeing that the bathrooms are open and able to be utilized. But they are closing them between 2 and 3 when they're finished for the day, and are currently investigating automatic locks to utilize, but they are quite expensive, and I think some difficulty in obtaining quotes and someone to install them. So it's being investigated. That would obviously just make it pretty seamless if they just open and close automatically.
Yeah, excellent.
But
So I have
so
been
far, so good.
spreading the word a little bit to some of the younger families in the neighborhood. They were happy to hear that, and hopefully they start making their way down that way as well. So especially while the weather's nice and we have the opportunity to. So,
Absolutely.
and then any status update on the sidewalk grant, or still waiting to hear?
Oh, I haven't heard anything at all back
So-
from them.
I did talk to several neighbors about that as well. They're all very excited about that. And actually on my way home that evening, there was probably 4 or 5 groups of kids walking down the middle of the road in that section. And, even speaking with my wife is like, yeah, this is something that's definitely going to make a big improvement in that area for safety, 100%. So
Do you know when we expect to hear, Dale?
I believe the award is in September.
Okay, so
So it was my plan to, the beginning of the month, reach out to, I already put a bug in his ear, but I want to reach out to Senator Daley again to tap his MDOT contact about, hey, we're very interested in this. Is there anything else we can provide? We don't have anyone to directly contact, so it would just be a shot in the dark to try and reach out to MDOT for, to say, hey, can we, express greater interest? It was all entered through a website, no direct contact. So, but again, we had a excellent walking study done by our SRO. We had approval from the letters from the neighbors. We had more than enough to make it desirable, or an obviously desirable grant.
since you mentioned MDOT, has there been any more word about the removal of the traffic light?
Not a peep.
Good. So I think it's a terrible idea, but okay, that's it for me.
Steve?
Also,
Good. Adjourned.
Wait.
Nope.
I had one more thing
Sorry.
I missed on my list. You may all know or not know that we had the final paving done on our road project today. That was on June Drive and Allison Drive, whose names I got confused earlier today. The final project turned out great. The contractor did an awesome job. The asphalt, the base was tested thoroughly before they paved. First layer was tested, the last layer is tested, the temperature's been monitored. Those are all things I'm used to making sure that are in place so that we get a good quality final product. The day was extremely hot, as you know. the Allison Drive section is showing some marks from the property owners coming and going, turning wheels on their vehicle. But the contractor assures me that that will all heal after it cools down enough. It goes down at about 300 degrees. And with the sun and being black, it takes it a long time to cool off. So I was hoping to get a light rain shower tonight, but the nighttime will cool it enough to stabilize it. On June Drive, the asphalt went down well. It was super hot, and it was 80, at that point, 87 degrees out. And I was noticing that even if I walked on it, I was leaving marks. So we put up road closed signs. We put the notice out on our Facebook page. That's where I made the mistake of the name initially. 5 minutes later, we fixed that. But the end result is they kept rolling it. They stayed longer and kept rolling it to try to stabilize the surface. As it cooled off, the sun started to go down. It was down to 84 degrees my last visit there. And I think we're going to have, again, a very good final product. There might be some complaints about us putting up the road closed signs, but quite frankly, I didn't see one person adhere to that, and they drove through it anyway. And it appears that due to the additional rolling, no marks were being left. And we did put out notice, please don't park on the road tonight until it cools off. If they do, I'll likely leave dents where the tires are overnight. But again, these sort of things might have been able to be avoided if we had a little better timing notice that they were coming to do the project. Of course, we knew they were scheduled, but it literally changed day to day when the contractor would get here. So I think that's why they went out of their way to continue rolling, and they actually put down more asphalt than was originally contracted. So I believe that it'll be a perfect project when it's done. The road was crushed and reshaped to cause a good subbase, raise the height of the road a little bit to ensure that water sheds into the ditches. And it appears we did cut off the ends of some driveways. Drains were unearthed or removed that were not functioning. I think we'll have a very good, long-lasting project when it's done. So if you hear grumblings about closing the road unannounced, that was done just because the asphalt, because of the heat of the day, would not cure well on the surface. So again, I might even go and take those down before I go home tonight if it's cooled down enough. So
It's June and Allison.
it's only on June Drive.
Yeah, okay. Do you know what work was being done last couple of days on Sullivan, I think in Branch or Cherry?
Is that on the corner?
Yes.
Yes, it was being done today. They started early this morning replacing a service line. It was one of the last 5 that we had to do as in the water improvement project that we started last year. It was nothing less than amazing what we found underground. We found a water drainage line, a storm drain that apparently the drain caps had been paved over at least 10 years ago. We found a water line that should have went basically from where I'm sitting to where Kip's sitting, but it did not. It went to about the podium, made a 90-degree turn, and over to about where you're sitting. So none of the records show this, and none of the testing would show it. So first we dug the appropriate holes, couldn't find it, had to dig along the line to find it. It turns, then we were able to find its connection to the main line, remove it. That's the goal, to put a new service line in. And then we ran a line from, again, about where Kim is, past me into the house. The project turned out good, but it ended up taking all day, and it was 3 cuts in the road instead of 2. So they were to have it connected tonight, but I don't, the landscape and repairs won't be done. The holes are filled. They're prepped for driving on. We wait for rain to help compact the subbase, and then we'll do patching down the road.
Service line to the home would have been the home in the southwest corner.
Yes. Yes.
Good, sir.
Okay. So it's going to be a big improvement for them. We actually found an abandoned lead service line 3 or 4 feet from, and it was just the connection. It's not active. It's been shut off for years, but we removed that from the main line as well. So we have 4 left, but hopefully those go, should be able to do 2 a day. But this one today was quite a project.
It's been sitting there for quite a while.
Yeah, actually, they estimated it's 100 years old.
Right. Not surprised. Yeah, we've heard that we have mains from 1918. Yeah. Quite something. Anybody else have anything they want to say? So I think we're adjourned. Oh, we are adjourned.